corporeality, that is a concept of link in between the actual body that is opening in the environment, I can propose an ontological transition of the body through its contact with technology that lead me to introduce an international debate over the issue of the moving body in relation with technology, two emerging concepts, and here there's a little mistake, sorry, that of the physical collective body and of the sound body forming a collective carnal body. The concept of Merleau-Ponty that speak about the coexistence of several, of the whole universe inside your body. So, Sweli Rovnik, I had the good fortune of meeting Sweli Rovnik in Sao Paulo when I was giving a conference for the Planetary Collegium. And Sweli Rovnik is a cultural critic, a psychanalyst, and also she's professor at the University of Sao Paulo. She's collaborating with Gattari and Deleuze, and she directs a doctoral program on contemporary subjectivity. And what was very interesting with her is that she was presenting this theory where she was saying that technology is accelerating the world because it interconnects the world. So you're having mass of information because it's coming from everywhere, so it's accelerating, and it's accelerating your perception. What does that mean? It means that you're in a moving state all the time, an unstable state. And a lot of persons get disease from this. But the artist has the ability to take this instability and to create from it. And what she says is to create communication in the performative art, whatever setup you have, and network, and internet performance, or immersive performance, whatever, is that you have this new communicative paradigm, how you communicate with the other. And how can you communicate with the other to have this sense of touch? Is that you have to enter in this state of instability, so you create a condition that you will be in this instability, a stage, and then what this does, you reorganize yourself and you enter into a state of fragility, that she says. So it means that your skin is not present. It's like the dissolution of the frontier, psychocorporal frontier. So it means that your body is open. And how can you communicate with the other that is in front of you? It's that you create an instability also for him. But the public or the other person has to be willing to live this experience, risky experience. And it means that him, her also will enter into this state of fragility and an openness, and will also dissolve the psychocorporal frontier. So what does it mean? So it means that this space in between you two becomes a vibratory space of communication when you can actually get in link physically with the other person. I call it the sense of touch. It's like the interval that is not empty, that is full of this vibratory communication. So coming back to what I presented, this physical collective body and the sound body, what I want to say is when I speak of a sound body, I firstly refer to a dimension of the body that is engendered in real time by the dancer or the performer. What do you do when you do real time? Because for me, real time is fundamental. It means that you're making several things at the same time. It means that you are making a sound, you're making something, and then you're making at the same time something else. Like if you imagine a prism, you know, in how you see the light, you have the white light, and then it has many components. It doesn't mean that you're reduced. It means that you complexify, that inside of you you have the potentiality to become more complex. What do we have to do, what do I do with my technique, is that I stimulate this potentiality to create a complexification of the self and to create new ability. So real time is very much about this for me. It's a training that will give you access to a complexification of yourself. So I want to show you what I mean by the collective physical body. And so it's a technique where I refer the collective body, I refer to one form by 5 dancer or performer. So this is possible through a process that takes place in a reference tactile, kinesthetic, and proprioceptive sensation, as well as a creative dynamic rooted in the experiential, the evolutive, and the transversal. Also, with this, you can experience different type of temporality, a global corporality and some individual corporality that will communicate throughout this whole body. So you have different type of physical corporality that lies inside. So when I speak about other type of aesthetic model, this is an example. When I speak about cognitive paradigm, this is an example also. So it means that the physical intelligence is valued and is used to acquire new ability. So also, so this example, this working method is intended as being evolutive and is based on some sensory perceptual strategy of destabilization in order to reconstruct and create ever fluctuating, changing reality. So my process aims to achieve a transformation of the body. This process of destabilization inevitably opens up to alternative gestural codes, performative mode, and behavior. And it will bring new performative model. So as an example of the performative model, I want to present you an internet performance that I did. So it's a telematic duet performance that I created around 2000, where we had to develop all the software, the connection, to be in relations, or all the programmation. We had to develop software because all the sensors that I was trying that were on the market was not at all adapted for the moving body. It's adapted, it comes from the industrial, and it's to calculate the impact of a car that's going somewhere. So what you see here is me on one space with one public, and you have in another city elsewhere in the world, you have another performance with another public, but all the sound that you hear is created in real time. And I'm doing a duet that is in constant interaction. This is the other performer in the other space, and there's another set there. So we have sensors here and here, and we're creating the whole music in real time, but in a composition, in a distant duo. And also we have to build the ability of perceiving ourselves in a performative way at distance. So this is an example of other type of performative model that can be developed. So I'm going to show you also the work that I did, more specifically Hexagram, with in collaboration with Ricardo Dalfara, Kevin, and Karim. So we were working on a concept of body that moves and takes form from strategy that I call transitory. So all the sound was created in real time, and it's an example of the collective body. And the guys after will explain, Karim and Kevin, they developed the interface that was controlling in real time, all the spécialisation in real time, and the sound processing. They will come after to explain if you have questions. So this is an example, an evolving perceptual form with continual sensory perceptual reconfiguration. Sound produced in real time and is closely related to the different dynamic of movement. This sound has the particularity of being created through a collective dynamic, so it's constituting a collective sound body in real time, and I work with it as a sixth performer. So it was really like, if you imagine the whole performing space with the sound going as the actual performing space, not just what is happening on here. So to make the link between the physical body and the collective sound body, I use technological device that here, for this creation, was intended to remain invisible. So what they consist to a wireless microphone system worn by the dancer under their turban, so they could move, and people could not know they had technology. And an original software program that specialized the sound and that were designed to answer the artistic problematic at the root of this research creation. So it was a mix of Lemur, Max MSP, Ableton Live, and others, so the guys will explain it. So this collective physical body is also equipped with the sound dimension, but I work the sound dimension also in Communion, the first one that I show you, and in the Démence des Anges that did the telematic duet. So just that you can see what kind of equipment that I use to create real sound. Here in Communion, I have a microprocessor and some wireless system, and here I think, I had flex sensor. So when I speak about also what was very important for me in this creation was to get out of a relation with technology when the body is used to generate only media, video, sound, because the usual sensor that we have on the market, like flex sensor, as an example, or accelerometer, will oblige you to create some gesture that look like kung fu. You know, you have to move like this, because then you have the sensor will not work. Or you have with accelerometer, you have to move like that all the time. So at some point, you reduce the aesthetic possibility of the body. It's like if you ask to a musician to only create with very high sound, and he doesn't have access to the other. So this was very much a problem. So in La Démence des Anges, we put the wireless system here, here, and here. So as you can see, it's there. And we developed a special type of sensor that was here, and here, and here. So it means that when I was moving, I could have sound, I could create sound in real time, but I was having access to this type of gesture and this type. So it means also, depending where my sensor and my body was in the space, I could also control the sound, the note of a feedback that we were creating in real time and manipulating with the gesture and with Max MSP. Here, in this last creation, we put the mics, they were hidden in the head, under here, and they had the mics here. So we had a system of specialization with 5 speakers, and the public and the dancer were inside this technological environment. Whoops. So the performer here were able to create sound in real time, and the sound and expression were captured by wireless microphone and transformed as audio signal that were transmitted to the environment. So what is special with that is that the feedback will return as an echo of their mediated manifestation. So when I was speaking about the carnal body, I was speaking that the physical collective body and the mediated, the sound produced in real time collective body form the carnal body. So the body, the flesh, become the meeting place of corporality and corporeality. It's a space of transformation. It's a space of coexistence. And that the mediated body is a resonator of different sensory dimensions that become performative expressions. So this mediated body is rendered possible by the recomposition of the physical body, subject to the action of the transformation of the interior that becomes mediated. So, because of the influence of the sound feedback in real time, registered by the physical body, it goes inside you as a vibration going through your body and coming from the technical environment. So, why do I work with sound more than with image? And how does it change my approach to this interface? It's because I wanted it to allow me to invest a specific aesthetic dimension. So, what is my approach of aesthetic? I'm going to go back to the Greek roots of aesthetic. So my aesthetic model is based on an approach of aesthetic stemmed from the Greek. That's the ability of perceive and understanding. And the aesthesis, that is sensation. So my approach of the aesthetic dimension in that way is directly linked to sensation and perception. This is why I use technology to destabilize the sensation and perception. So the need to develop different relationship with an interface, so what kind of machine or what kind of relationship will you use? I wanted to find an interface that could enrich corporality, enrich the physical experience, the experiential of the real body, and the experiential awareness. This comes from my experience from Communion, the first video I show you, and the Démence des Anges, because I experienced it on me first, and then I'm training the other performer to be able to do it also. So I wanted really to get out of this relation where my body is a screen. So you know, sometimes you're in a performance and you're moving, and then one of your contemporaries is saying, okay, Isa, you have this to move. Because then, you know, the image has to come here, and you have to do a composition with your movement, and with the image, you have to move with the image. So what does it do? If my performance space is this big, I'm really stuck. So I cannot do much, you know. It doesn't mean it's not interesting, but on the experiential and performative aspect, you reduce the experience. And me, I really wanted to find a relation with technology, that technology will enrich my experiential awareness. I'm not sure that's good English, but anyway. So I didn't want to be instrumentalized. I didn't want to be an object anymore, or to be one that will just trigger. You know, you have this, you trigger, it go boom, boom, and then image. So you have to move like that. I didn't want to be in this relation anymore. So that's a causal relation with technology. So I was more looking for, in this last research, for an interface that could act on sensory perceptual organization, and on the kinesthetic and internal organization of the body. So how this is an approach that is multisensorial, multimodal, and thanks to this approach of the interface that I developed, it was very useful in my process because this audio feedback of the body that it was giving me was could be perceived physically by the performer and also by the public. So it's a feedback in real time. Perception is dilated, is changing, becoming, and then you're becoming more complex and you're transforming yourself. So it becomes a new reality. So this sound body that I'm using in real time is a destabilization concept by itself. So it will influence the way we sense the body, because the inner body becomes mediated. By changing the body internal bearing, I change my way of thinking and organizing the work. So it means that I'm going to structure the work, create the interaction of the performing body with the technology and organize everything in a very different way, and it will change also my approach of the aesthetic, my approach of the interface, and the approach of the paradigm of communication and of the cognitive. So, in working this way, I introduce another way of sensing and perceiving the world, of understanding and influencing, or even creating new reality, because this interiority that is mediated becomes the new reality for the performer and also for the public, because they're influenced by the performer that are changing, and also they are inside the mediatic environment. So this sound allows me to build a very direct relationship and create a relationship with the interiority of the body. So the sound body is an emanation, a dilatation of the physical body that constitutes a vibration, serving as a sensorial reference for the dancer to compose the score. This means that they will create other type of movement, and this technique that I'm working is to direct them in some specific sensation that will be the reference, and it's a technique of auto-organization by new senses that are created. So, I want really to say that the sound body is not a double, but a new manifestation of the physical body issued from the kinesthetic learning process brought about by the influence of technology as an element of exteroceptive destabilization. Exteroceptive is the information that comes from the outside. So it's the environment that is mediated, that is exteroceptive. So it's a real product. It's a product of real integration of process of modification that leads to the transformation of the cell. So how do I do it? Very, very briefly. So the technique is becoming, with the performer, it's becoming aware of an environment that is already known and simple. I say, just move in the space, what's your reference, da, da, da. Be conscious of this. And then I add an element of destabilization. Pixel environment, complete darkness, so they don't know where the walls are, or a sound. And then if you use like sound, or you use an image, so you use an element of destabilization, what is the performer lives? In fact, what he does when he dances, when he moves, when he acts, he has this very strong ability to be in himself in a performative way and to communicate. He has this ability. You add a destabilization element, technology, sound, whatever. And then, what he does, he creates sound. What does he do? Or he creates image. He looks at the image. he listened to the sound. So what happens? He loses his performative quality. He is beside him. That's the double. Me, I don't want that. I want him to have the time to assimilate this new transformation, this new element, to come back into the performative body, to make it evolve, and then to change and to become more complex, develop new ability. But a lot of the artists, not everybody, that are working with technology stops here. So this is what I mean by instrumentalizing the body. So after, when you bring back this new element, the performer has to be aware of the loss of bearings and the difference that the complexity entails. After, you have to give time to integrate this complexity until the performer feels physically on perceptual and kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is movement level. For example, when sound or immersive video element are registered physically or on a vibratory level. This is allowing time for sensorial and perceptual reorganization. This is accomplished through time, repetition, and through a long period of contact with the element of change that is concerned, like technology. If you have access to technology in this environment, like 1 or 2 or very little, you won't have the time to integrate it as a physical new element. You need a long period of time to integrate it in a phenomenological way, and that it will develop experiential awareness. So when do you know when the performer has this, or the public? Is that they acquire the acquisition and integration of new capacity. And how can you see it? By observing the change in the performative behavior and the awareness of a new performative element. And it's when they become creative in other ways with this element, then you know that they assimilate. And what is interesting, you're not controlling this, where this new ability is bringing. So this is why you have to be really listening and looking, really open to see how you can direct this exploration. So sensoriality reorganizes itself, and interiority is mediated. For it is this interiority that has changed, that evolved, and that is in transformation through the relationship of destabilization created by an external technological agency. And Bertha's, this echoes very much the mediated interiority that reorganizes itself, echoes very much what the Bertha's theory on decomposition and recomposition of the senses. Bertha's is a French neurophysiologist and engineer. And he says that each sense decomposes sensitive reality into components that are after recomposed and re-related. So it means that you're really in an evolutionary process. So this is what I was saying, it's a new reality for the performer, because this mediated and reorganization becomes the new reality of the performer, eventually becomes the reality of the public. So you're exploring something else. So I think it's about it. I'm going to stop here. Just very roughly, I'm going to show you an image of destabilization strategy that I use. This is a strategy that I use to compose the collective body. It's the painter and sculptor Hans Bellmer that was very inspiring for me. So the collective body is a way of reformulating the body form. So you can see how he's multiplicating the whole thing. And here it's also what he was doing, because in putting the public extremely close, like half a meter, like this big, if you were here, the performer were there. 5 body naked, moving in front of you. So what does this mean, this extreme proximity with naked body? It means the way I work the form, and they were hiding their head all the time, is that you take out of the public his normal capacity of understanding and analyzing the form. So he was really much destabilized, and also because they were creating the sound in real time, and we were performing it in relation with the real body in the space where the public was. There was two bodies, complex connected bodies, the sound and the physical body. That was really an interaction with them that they couldn't analyze, and that they were really understanding on a physical way. So this is the example I wanted to show you. Now I would like to invite Ricardo Dalfara, Karim, and Kevin on the stage. I work the last phase of creation, of research with them, and I will show a video, a trailer of what we did in Hexagram, so it's a montage, and then they can explain how we deal with the interface, the specific of it, and also Ricardo will make a presentation out of it. Thanks.
Hola, hola. Sí, muchas gracias, Isabelle, por su presentación. Un aplauso, por favor.